idea how to. After it ends, I think it's done and it shunts it off to the side. And
so then we just need to put all that stuff back.
Yeah, like, are you on the computer? Since nobody's here yet, like, go into the live thing, the live tab or whatever. Oh wait, well, now we got it. Now we got a client, so now we got to we'll crank it on up. Welcome to Common Mansplaining, where the technical difficulties abound, and we just can't get this thing to work.
Well, it was fun last couple of weeks, but yeah, I messed up.
Yeah, last time it was not that bad. Man, I'm so bummed too because it was such a good thumbnail. Like I spent like an hour on this thing.
The relationship, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, like, wouldn't that have been sweet? That like draws attention. I see. This is why we need Angelique to like manage that part of it while we're because going live and doing all that at the same time is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So like we need a third person to like manage that for us while we're cranking it up so that they can handle all this the silly stuff and we can
She's hanging on last of our kitchen cabinets as we speak right now.
Hey, nice.
The one above our refrigerator. We got our gas stove turned back on. So anybody that's been through a kitchen remodel while living in a home, it's a first world struggle.
Yeah, right.
It's been a little bit challenging. So
I can imagine that. I'm gonna try to while we're waiting for people. We got a couple people. I think one person in the thing, but while we're waiting, I'm gonna try to put that stuff back in. It's gonna maybe be. But anyway, while you guys are there, thanks for showing up. Whoever it is that's watching, and definitely say hi in chat. Let us know what you think of this week's events. It's been a lively week. So
it has, and so obviously, and this can be expected with Doge being so popular, overwhelmingly popular, fighting corruption, but the left are reacting. They're not getting people to react with them. People are like, no, this isn't that bad. Let's see where this goes. Let's just ride this for a while. No. They want to have an emotional response.
Of course.
They don't want to like let's have all the facts and let's analyze this.
Oh yeah, no, we can't process. No, absolutely not.
It's an irrational emotional response, including vandalizing Tesla dealerships, right? Against trying to personally damage Musk, like you're going to affect his wealth or you're going to hurt his feelings, right? Hating the best, the most useful electric car ever made. That furthers the left's environmental goals, but by hating on that somehow you are going to be making the world a better place. What?
And I mean, and so Trump is thinking about actually labeling it domestic terrorism, and I have to say I agree 100% because this is politically motivated violence, vandalism and like people. One of them, there was somebody who's shooting at the daggone dealership and stuff like that. Like it's nuts, right? And this is coming from the party that's like, oh no, the January 6th is the worst thing that's ever happened in the universe. Where like one person it's like, I mean, come on, guys. If that's your moral high ground, if that's the game that you want to play, then when it's your turn, there can't be any Black Lives Matter riots. There can't be any of this like Tesla, like vandalism. There can't be any of that. If you want to have that moral high ground, then you have to keep it. Like it's the same thing in basically every instance, right? If you want to be the people who uphold the rule of law and Trump is crazy for pardoning people, then when it's your turn, you can't pardon 5 million people. You know what I'm saying? Like, frustrating. And
it's very much so a fact that right, the left methinks thou dost protest too much, to quote Shakespeare, right?
Oh yeah.
And one of the things we're finding out that I know you really want to talk about is how the left was funding protests, right? Paying protesters to show up.
Yeah.
Obviously, and when you do it, you only need to show up. It's not a whole day thing. You just need to show up and get the media to cover it, and then you can leave. And since the media were complicit and being funded by things so you can coordinate protests and the media, get the coverage you want,
right,
and then blow it up. And so now the funding apparatus might be disrupted. But yeah, we're so used to, the protests are just too much. And one of the things, one of the protesters who attacked and vandalized a Tesla Cybertruck, and it has cameras in it, got her on camera, and she was arrested. And she's 18, she's an adult, and she is facing big time consequences that
and you know what?
so it's the only way these people learn is you can't think emotionally, you can't act emotionally and destroying property in America. Got to calm yourself down, write some things if you're angry, write some things on Reddit that are angry.
Right.
But
yeah,
calm down until you can think about everything before you go out and act.
So, hey, just want to welcome everybody. Thanks for joining our chat. Common Mansplaining. This is philosophy, theology, and politics for the common man. If you guys have anything that you want to talk about, hit us up. We'll definitely get to you. We may not cut ourselves off mid-sentence, but we'll definitely circle back and hit. So, T. Gotti, what I was talking about with with January 6th, we were talking about the fact that there seems to be a double standard, right? The left wants to play this moral high ground card where they say that they're not ever violent, and that it's the right, the radical right, the crazy far right, the alt right, whatever buzzword term of the year that they want to use, and yet when it's their turn to show us this miraculous violence-free political action, and all of a sudden it's like they're shooting up charging stations and throwing Molotov cocktails on Teslas and
civilians too, right? I mean, it'd be one thing if they were going to Tesla headquarters and protested or wherever Elon Musk was, but just somebody driving a Tesla, could be a Democrat voter. Hey, let's attack that guy. Like it's so unhinged.
They're like running up behind cars and like slapping bumper stickers on them, like hate Elon Musk bumper stickers and stupid stuff like that. I'm like, come on, guys. Which of course that's just kind of funny, a little bit petty, but funny. But at least all right. So here's the rabbit hole I went down today, right? Because Elon Musk apparently he tweeted out a thing that said that they had found out some of the people that were behind what kind of surgery. What is that?
He says he's performing surgery while
watching. Dear Lord, please pay attention to. Please pay attention to your.
Sorry. Anyway. We'll try not to be so funny. Patient, it's outpatient surgery, so it's like what must be alive. Must be there. Maybe he's just lancing a boil or something.
Like,
sorry,
Doc, what do you mean? Whoops.
I didn't mean to interrupt your flow there. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I go down this rabbit hole, right? So Elon Musk says that he found out that these groups that are being paid to come protest and vandalize are all essentially associated with this same overarching group called Act Blue, right?
Yeah.
And Act Blue, as some people know, is like this ultra left wing, funded by George Soros and people like, Reid Hoffman, Herbert Sandler, basically all left-wing billionaires, right? All people that are filthy rich who have easily donated at least as much as Elon Musk has to the right, to the left. And in many cases, far more. Like George Soros donates like 150 million literally every single election cycle.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not even counting the stuff that he does personally, like installing, fields full of lawyers and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so this group, who is also being investigated for campaign finance fraud, is they're literally like a bane to the country. And like these are the names of these subgroups is like Troublemakers and Disruption Project and Rise and Resist. These are like French resistance names. Like this is like crazy like guerrilla warfare nonsense. I'm like, what is going on here? And these guys are paid to do this. I mean, we need to have an investigator crawl up at every last inch of it and like eliminate Act Blue, all the people who are funding, some of these people have ties to terrorists anyway. Like that's the other thing that Act Blue is being funded for is, or being investigated for, is that they have ties to like what is it called? The Palestinian campaign for the academic and cultural boycott of Israel and stuff like that. I'm like, guys, this is just getting ridiculous, right? And they're willing to like threaten Elon Musk's life. They're willing to like, I mean, it's driving me. Okay. I know I'm ranting right now.
Scandal. This is really, I mean, for the common people, this is, so for those of you who are new to our channel, we're two common guys. We're not a couple. We're just friends, very intelligent friends who follow current events. And we're bringing to you the unspun truth. We don't have a financial incentive. I own zero stock in any of Elon's companies, at least to my knowledge. Maybe my 401k blindly hold some, but I'm not being paid by either side. But Act Blue is something that a lot of people have known and has been portrayed as just a legitimate charity to donate to after disasters. You know, after wildfires, hurricanes, give some money to Act Blue. We'll make sure it gets there. But really, it is an overarching funding to drive left-wing radical groups, radical organizations, initiatives to promote leftism. Yep. And that's fine if you want to promote a worldview, but do it openly. Don't try to cloak it in that you're just humanitarian aid or it's just your type of Blue Cross or Red Cross or something like that.
Right, and don't act morally superior just because other people have made mistakes in the past too. And guys, don't think that I'm like making excuses for January 6th, because I think that was ridiculous. The behavior of the people on site. But likewise, the people that are throwing Molotov cocktails on Teslas are likewise ridiculous. And I mean, it's a much wider rebellion too. People are like, turning their Teslas in, like someone who is meshing politics and their business, like if they're basically the same thing. Like George Soros essentially is a political machine, right? Whereas Elon Musk runs a business, but is also in politics. Like, but he's not using Tesla to like be a political entity, right?
Yeah,
it's not the same thing.
It's just about making cars. It's all it's about.
And what drives me nuts is, this is an electric vehicle company. This is a company that should ideologically be just fine for the left. Like, if anything is okay, it's clean energy. Like, that's something I think
Greta Thunberg's going to throw a Tesla into the Baltic Sea because Elon likes a political candidate she doesn't like. I mean,
right.
It's emotional, right? So when you think about it, when you take time to step back and think about it, like it doesn't make any sense at all. And so, that's I think what we here in this channel really want to get to is not be emotional about things. Try to see past the emotion, see to the underlying issue. Now, obviously, Elon and his initiatives are very popular, and Trump is taking his advice very seriously, and it's been good advice so far. Sound advice, and people are uncomfortable with somebody like that. But here's the thing: he's not corrupted. He's not looking for more money. He's right. His only interest is making America great and finding things that improve America, and he does not have any legitimate ability to change things. He can make recommendations to the Secretary of Treasury who has to change things, to Trump who has to change things, to Secretary of Defense or Secretary, So he's just advising, right? He is not, right? Anything that's happening, you don't blame Elon, right? The people that the Constitution has empowered to make these changes, they are taking his information and using it.
Yeah, it's right. What's insane is, I mean, this man is giving his entire life away for us. Like, literally, his entire life has been in dedication to service. Even though, he's the richest guy on earth, he's not hurting, right? He's definitely serving himself as well, right?
He doesn't miss many meals. And,
Yeah, he doesn't, and he doesn't need access to my little $413 bank account to be able to buy nice things, right? Like he's going to be fine. But meanwhile, like he's making energy in the world clean. He's making us a multi-planetary species so that we're resilient against like stellar attack, like an asteroid or a solar flare or something like that. He's the world record holder for charitable donations. Like, I'm going to say that again. He's the world record holder for charitable donations. And right now, he's trying to manage like 1,000 companies at the same time while donating like 17 hours a day to making us like more financially efficient. Like, you can't get any, like, this guy's a hero.
The job of auditing our government effectively and openly with openness is such a behemoth, is such a thing that really people have failed. Reagan wanted to do it. Al Gore wanted to do it. He wanted to find efficiencies. But the bureaucracy is so much, it's really with the use of new technology, AI, and other things that you can penetrate and really try to get a scope of this. Right. And that's the big thing, is it's made to be indecipherable. And by penetrating, by unlocking understanding, right? That now all of a sudden, now everything has to pass the common sense smell test. Hey, yeah. Does this make sense for the federal government to be doing this? This seems a little bit, maybe the states can do this, but does this really make sense for the federal government to do that? That is the ultimate question. And that's a pretty high threshold, in my opinion. And,
yeah, me too.
And Elon's as well. So with the Republicans running it, we're looking at any type of spending very skeptically and saying, this is 10th Amendment stuff. This is something that if a state wants to do this program, go ahead. But there's no reason for the federal government to do it.
Right. Yeah. This is now for anybody out there. I'm lay my entire ideology for federal spending on the line right now. You flip to Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution. That's where the enumerated powers of Congress are. If it's not on that list, you flip to the 10th Amendment, you read that carefully, and then you realize that means we can't do it in the federal government. That's all. It's pretty simple. And moreover, ideologically, I would add that if I'm going to spend money on something, it essentially needs to be a non-rivalrous, non-excludable good, right? So it needs to be a commodity like national defense, something that everyone pays into evenly and fairly and gets the distribution evenly and fairly, and it doesn't run out, right? Like national defense, after we use it, it's not going away. So that means it's not excludable. Everyone's going to get a shot at it. So it's non-rivalrous, right? It's the same thing, right? Everybody gets the even distribution. Whereas like healthcare, for example, I'm never going to use healthcare like somebody who's 385 pounds and smokes 4 packs of cigarettes a day. I'll never need the kind of healthcare that person will. Someone who's a diabetic, I'll never need the same kind of healthcare that they will. Not saying that there's anything wrong with those lifestyles. If you're an adult, you want to live your life that way, whatever. But
like some chronic condition that's a result of surgery, maybe. But
right. Right.
Maybe a surgeon was watching live streams or something.
Yeah, my prostatitis is probably going to end up being costly eventually. But even so, I'll just never use the same. And I would never want somebody to pay for mine. I would never want to pay for anybody else's, and I would never want someone healthier, younger than me to have to pay for my prostatitis. It's not their responsibility. It's not their liability, right? So it's simple enough, right? That's essentially. Now, one thing I will say that Elon Musk should do, and I hope he is doing it. I think he's almost, ironically, I actually think that Elon Musk is not aggressive enough with the cutting. Because one thing to note is that every time you cut programs, and this is the same in the private sector or the public sector, it's demoralizing, right? Like you're laying people off, you're losing benefits, or you're doing something, you're losing stuff, right? And this is why it's such a hard sale to begin with.
Stacey Abrams doesn't get $2 billion to spend on whatever she wants.
Oh no, what are we going to do? But yeah, so the fact that this has a 54% approval rating is outrageous, right? Because this is supposed to be a painful experience to an extent. That's what it's supposed to be. But what you should do what you do in the private sector is, let's say you need to cut X amount, and you basically want to go about 20% deeper. You want to cut more than that so that you only have to pay that demoralizing price once. And then as things gel, you build back up. You hire to fill the whatever was missed, or, and which is essentially what they did to USAID. And they need to do that in basically every program. Every single program needs to be like whack, and then come back in and fill in the gaps.
Yeah. And he said that if people have watched Elon closely, which I have, and if you're following on X, he said, he's cut some stuff, and people are like, oh, these weren't temporary employees; they had just gotten a new promotion, and so then they go back and fix that, right? And they go back and rehire that and said, okay, we went on too far, and they fix it, and they'll see they'll one of the things, right, that they found, right, the famous email. Right? Hey, please respond to this email to tell us what you've done. Was really a fishing expedition to find people that weren't reading their emails and were dead, were not actually employees, right? And get them off the road. And so you want to cut those people, and then when somebody comes up and says, "Oh no, I'm actually doing," oh okay, then you add them back up, right? Oh, sorry, our mistake. But if you cut someone and no one ever complains, nothing ever happens, then you're like, okay, that was probably just a fake person. We need to get rid of that, right? But if you cut
or a fraudulent person.
Yeah, a fraudulent person. But if you cut someone by mistake, you can go back and fix that mistake. But if you cut someone who was a fraudulent person, right? And that's what we're really trying to get, that the Social Security paying out multiple times in fraud. We should, as American citizens, our threshold for corruption should be really, really, really low, and fraud, and we want openness. We want to follow the Constitution, and we don't want fraud. And the federal government should be an example of that, so that they can create this sort of social structure in a world where people can exist, where they're not constantly terrified about fraud. They need to fight. Right, the FBI should be fighting fraud so aggressively. I feel like people 100% of fraud, because I feel like it's an antisocial crime. It's not just if I defraud somebody. It's not just between me and you and the money I stole from you. It's an antisocial crime that undermines trust in our economic system.
Absolutely, and it directly hurts the society. Absolutely, and one of the, what's crazy is Elon Musk is saying, he's going around. And there have been like good audits done by inspector generals in the past, but just nobody implements them, right? Like nobody's ever actually like pressed the issue. No one's ever actually like developed this. And it's funny. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this right, but Shakinya Harvin just said, that there should be 3 branches of government, not 1 branch overall. You're absolutely right. Couldn't agree more. As a matter of fact, the reason that Doge is so vitally important is expressly because there's a 4th branch of government right now, and that is the bureaucracy. And they are actually not co-equal with the rest. They're actually more powerful than any other branch of government.
Well, Chevron. So that was a big thing for those who follow. The Supreme Court had a huge case in the last year. The Chevron, overruling Chevron. Chevron was a wrongly decided case 40 years ago that allowed bureaucracies wide latitude in setting policy without going back to Congress. But that's been fixed by the Supreme Court now, and so now bureaucracies must go back to Congress. There's a much tighter window of what they can do, and so part of that we need to see, where are the bureaucracies overextending themselves? Where are they acting not in America's interest, and where are they not abiding by, right? Elections have consequences. USAID needs to get in line with the State Department when things change. You want to take a minute to go over some questions?
Yeah. Anybody else got questions? Hit us up in chat. Mostly it's Elon Musk and Trump hate or random spam or announcements. Help Brazil needs help against the minister of the Supreme Court, Alexander de Moraes. Innocent people are being arrested for that. That sucks. Yeah, I did hear that.
So Brazil right now has a leftist president, and their Supreme Court is more leftist. Argentina, right, has been finally went back to a conservative austerity who's trying to rein in inflation and things. It's a tough thing for Argentina, but they're starting to show positive signs.
Yeah, that's good news.
Brazil is sort of right now being ruled from the left, and they're right when you don't have freedom of speech, this is what happens. People who speak out against leftists get this is. We had a question earlier from somebody about my thoughts on the UK, and the same thing. Like anywhere that doesn't really have deep-seated respect for freedom of speech, I'm really worried about. I'm really worried about their democratic institutions, their republics, and whether their citizens can affect change. I feel like that's a situation where elites say we know better than the common man, and we're just going to, make political parties illegal or candidates illegal or certain viewpoints because everything's going to be center left, everything's going to be pro-government, right? Ideally, government wants to expand itself and say we have the answers, come to us. And so when you have a disruptive president and like Trump, empowered with somebody like Elon, who ideologically is right there with Ron Paul, right, and wants to shrink the size of government, the federal government especially. So that's going to be violently opposed by the left, not just American globally.
This is a good question, right? So what do you think of guys of Elon Musk slashing agencies that are meant to oversee the activities of his companies and protect the U.S. consumer? And specifically, has cut 11 agencies who had investigations into his company. So one thing you got to understand is that there's a lot of word games that are being played here, and this is a talking point of the left, right? Like this is like word for word stripped from MSNBC. Like you didn't even change the word. You probably copied and pasted it from MSNBC. That's where it's that close. And the reason why I say that is because when people say they had investigations, okay, we're not talking about like Elon Musk is being investigated for fraud or corruption or something like that. We're talking about he's got like an FAA violation that like needs looking into, right? Not like they're like sniffing around with canines in his like warehouse, like looking for drugs, like not like that. All right. And the other thing to understand,
not corruption, but how many launches he wants to do every year, things that just in when you're expanding your business. Now, obviously, all those investigations should go forward, right? None of these should not cancel anything, and you need to declare those. We know about those conflicts of interest because he's declaring them. Right, MSNBC or the left is reporting and shouting about it, but we're not forgetting about them. Everything will be checked. Everything is done openly.
Absolutely.
It's not like he's secret. It would be one thing if he shut these things down and we didn't know about it, or nobody was talking about it. But obviously, any conflict of interest Elon Musk has is going to be reported by the mainstream media.
Right,
so and he has no expectation that he can slip anything past anyone.
Right. And again, once again, we need to reiterate that Elon Musk has zero slashing power. 0.0%. He cannot fire a single employee except for those that work directly under him for Doge. And even those he needs to follow a process for. If he wants to cut an agency, he goes over to Trump and he says, hey, Trump, or to the department head, Rubio or whoever. And he'll say, hey, Mr. Secretary, I think that this is your plan of action for cutting your department. And understand that these IGs, these inspector generals that are meant to oversee the activities of Elon Musk's company and everybody's company. It's not like they were specifically designed to hunt down Elon Musk. No, it's just like the auto industry, you're right, or something like that. Yeah. Anytime these IGs were not doing their jobs. To have a federal government that's $36 trillion in debt proves that these guys were not running an efficient And they just weren't auditing. They weren't implementing plans of action. They were not doing their job. They needed to go. And it's like Christian just said, it's not like people aren't crawling up Elon Musk's butt with the best of them. He is getting like a daily proctology exam every single day.
He will be able to get nothing, sneak and nothing by. So I appreciate that. The left will want to expose any type of nefariousness when the Republicans are in power. They're fired up to be journalists, but they go to sleep when the Democrats are in power.
Yeah, and it's good. I want to reiterate that it's good that the left is following up on Elon Musk. Like, I'm happy about that, right? Like you just said, what do you think of the FOIA-based request for information on Doge? I love that. Like, I hope that it gets approved. I hope that FOIA's famous for like kind of like dawdling and like getting your request approved like a year and a half later. So I hope that's not what they do here. But I just want to know that like transparency is like Elon Musk's goal. That's why he literally posts every single line of every single recommendation that he wants in his Doge.gov website. And then it gets, not only is it gone over by his team, it's gone over by like 4 million media outlets, and then private investigators. And now there's going to be an auditor who's specifically going to look into Doge and the way that they implement. I'm like, that's so, you can't get any more transparent than that. Like,
I mean, right. When you compare that to, hey, when they gave $12 billion to build some more submarines. 0 submarines got built. They said, where's that $12 billion?
Oh.
Right? Nobody's looking on. And this is right. We've come out of a 4-year period under Biden where journalists were not doing their job. Right? At least for the mainstream media. We're just blindly, passing on that Joe was competent and that everything was on. We're doing no penetrations, no audits, exposing 0 scandals, right? Just trying to say, because they were terrified that if they said anything, first off, the left will disown you and be really angry at you if you say anything negative against them.
Right.
And they're terrified that anything they say negative about Biden or the Democrats, even if true, would give any type of aid to Donald Trump. So they stuck their heads in the sand and ignored stuff that was ruining our country, right? That the guy in charge of payments was told to process every payment, deny nothing, even if it was going to literally like zombie Osama bin Laden who wanted to destroy America. Let that check go through. Like zero. Like, what is your job?
Yeah, wait, what? Send money to heroin dealers in Afghanistan? Okay, and then the craziest thing, right, is so like they're in this. So Elon Musk described it as kind of like a minimization of complaint, like factory, right? Like the whole concept was to minimize complaints. Hey, look, thanks for watching, Tony. I really appreciate it. And like the minimization of complaint thing. And then the crazy thing, though, is like the moment Trump gets, and you understand that these bureaucracies are like 92% Democrat. So then the moment Trump gets into play and asks them to start implementing these executive actions, they're like, nah, we don't want to. And I'm like, what? This just blows my mind. This whole thing blows my mind, right? And for anybody, by the way, to have the power to say, nah, I don't want to follow an executive order from the president of the United States of America, literally the most powerful man on earth, then you know that you've got some serious power if you think your department can just like ignore those executive orders.
Well, yeah, when you're in the executive branch, you're working in an executive department, and you're like, no, you're taking an oath to uphold the Constitution, right? If the president can't remake and administer the executive branch, does he have any power? Right. Now, so obviously judges have been pushing back on how quickly this can go and what things need to be come through legislatively. But right now we're in a really Wild West kind of advisory phase. And the advice that are coming down, things that want to come down, that the Democrats don't like it, but they're ineffective in stopping it. Chuck Schumer has got to be the most ineffective opponent.
A poor guy. I mean, I feel bad for him because he's getting up there in age. He was never a very effective politician anyway. Like I mean, I almost do feel bad for him. But now, right? So like because they were so ineffective in stopping this, like Trump's kind of blitzkrieg through the executive order, like he's like whirlwinding, right through everything, like the Tasmanian devil. And because they're not able to manage that, they're trying to like attack Elon personally. And did you see the other day that Elon Musk had, a SpaceX rocket, like, had what they call an a rapid unscheduled disassembly, where it explodes in space or whatever, right? And literally, people were celebrating that nonsense.
I know,
they're like, yes, Elon Musk's rocket went down, ha 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 ha. And I'm like, really? Are we really are we nanny boo-booing people? Like, really? Are we sticking our tongues out at somebody because their sandcastle got knocked over? Holy crap.
Here's the thing. I don't mind that because Elon, right, he got data from this. He understands, and like, okay, right, obviously we need to learn from it and not let that happen again, right? And this is how you get to safer launches, is that some of your experiments and some of your efficiencies don't turn out well. Say, oh, can't do that, have to go back and do something. And this is a little bit like the other thing of, all right, maybe you cut too far or you tried something a little bit too much. Okay, now we have to go back and be a little bit safer, a little bit more conservative, right?
Right.
We were pushing a little bit too hard. Let's be a little bit more conservative.
And you know what? That's his model too. That's his, like, people maybe don't understand that. They may be still like in the mindset of like Apollo 13 days where, one explosion carries a lot of weight because they're only firing a rocket like every several years and they're trying to make sure everything is perfect all at once. That's not Elon Musk's model. His model is fire a rocket, fire a rocket, fire a rocket, fire a rocket, iterate, boom, boom, boom. And so if something doesn't work out, he's like, all right, cool. I kind of expected that.
Yeah.
Go on board, like fixed next, and that's the whole point. So it's like it, but to cheer when an American rocket fails is almost as un-American as like hating pizza or something like that. That's like, they're like, where's your mind at? Like, really? You want our rockets to fail? You want our cars, dealerships like Tesla to go under?
It's emotion. And we should, as Americans, right, really try to take a deep breath, detach, and not be making decisions based on emotions when it comes to governing, right?
Exactly.
And Trump, can get angry, can get upset, but I think he really tries to, from his experience, he's been around a while, he's in the 70s, is trying to look back and think about negotiation and say, the other guy's trying to get me emotional about this. Why is he doing that? Let's try to go back and think about what do we actually want to achieve in this deal. Now, here's the thing. If you're a big government is the answer, liberal, right? Fine. Maybe a time for that. If you think these programs that Trump and Elon is recommending cutting and Trump is being aggressive to cut, if you think that they're very valuable, then lobby your state. Be a community organizer. Have those programs started in your state, in your county, or city. Barack Obama can go back to being a community organizer and get these beloved liberal programs in the communities that really want them, need them, and are willing to pay for them. There's no reason the federal government needs to be doing all this stuff.
Exactly. And so the Trump he purchased Elon Musk's Tesla. He had his Tesla on the White House lawn or whatever as kind of like a marketing stunt or whatever, and everybody's losing their mind over it. And I'm like, is this really that big? I guess maybe I'm missing something. I really don't think it's that big of a deal. Although I will say this. Now, this is going to be my spicy take of the night. You ready?
Sure.
I would like to get money out of politics altogether. I don't know if that's possible.
How do we do that? Because I don't
know. I'm working on it. I don't know if that's possible or to what extent it's possible. I think what would make it fair is eliminating a lot of the loopholes. Like, we don't have to take it out 100% because people have to raise money to run a campaign. But I think if we take out some of the loopholes, like, people being able to donate, because right now, for example, if you want to donate to the presidency, candidate for the presidency, you can put in, I think, $2,900, $3,100 or something. That's the max, right? But instead, you can give like billions of dollars to the DNC, and then they can put it into the candidate at their leisure. Yeah. So like there's essentially no, and it's specifically set up for the two-party system, right? So like only Republicans and Democrats can do that loophole right there. If you run as an independent, you don't get that. Nobody can just like donate to the independent slush fund and have it cycle back.
You can create a political action committee for anybody.
Yeah, but that's different. That's different. But and the political action committees have different laws for independents and libertarians and Green Party and all that. Only Republicans and Democrats are favored that way. So that's one of my beefs. I don't particularly like the two-party system, but I recognize it as potentially a necessary evil. But even so, I'd like to get rid of like a lot of those loopholes where there's like this lobbyist to congressman to, pipeline where like these congressmen are like, accepting these deals, doing things legally in favor of a lot of these like, private entities. And then once they get out, all of a sudden it's like, hey, they have a high level position at Northrop Grumman. How did that happen? They're not even a, defense contracting like experienced manager. I don't understand. Where did this come from?
Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams. Right? All of a sudden,
for those of you who aren't following Stacey Abrams, like she had created a charitable organization that collected $100 in donations one year, and then promptly received $2 billion from the federal government, for her charity, right? Not to say that they'd earned that, and they have network to effectively use that. This is just dumping water down a hole that is gonna, or you hope is gonna go to the leftist, groups. So
speaking of dumping water,
what?
I said, speaking of dumping water, and the last person I thought about when I hear the word water is Gavin Newsom. So, who do you think is going to be the new governor of California? They're saying Kamala Harris. Yeah. That's, you know what? There's a bright silver lining there. I think if Kamala Harris runs the state into the ground even more than Gavin Newsom did, and she will, they might just flip that bad boy red. That might be like the last straw. That might be like, all right, forget it. I give up.
I mean, it's going to take, right. So right now, the California, I grew up in California, has politically dominated that state by telling Hispanics that the Republican Party is racist. They're racist. They're racist. You cannot vote for them. The only thing that's in your interest as Hispanics is to vote Democrat because the Republicans oppose illegal immigration. Now, enough second, third generation Hispanics in California, especially there are a lot of wealthy or bougie Hispanics. I know lots of them. They're not taken in by that rhetoric. And as people become more educated, and have a little bit of experience, especially as they see as bad as the Democratic Party goes, they're going to realize, look, the Republicans aren't racist. They're just for limited government. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's what California needs. And it's the only way to rein in the excesses and give that state a chance.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm praying.
Schwarzenegger tried, and it's tough.
He was like, get down! All of the spending, we got to get it down! Get to the chopper!
I think one of the things I want to talk about, in this, unless you have some questions out there in our live that you really want.
Well, so I do want to, I want to address this. Elon Musk spent hundreds of millions of dollars. He's South African. I don't know if he actually still has South African citizenship, but I know he has American citizenship and has since like 2001 or something like that. So it's not even close. I don't know. I really don't get why the left would be attacked. See, this is the hypocrisy, right? See, the left is all about let everyone stay here, give amnesty to everyone, grant immediate citizenship to everyone. But then the moment one person they don't like ends up being on the other side of the political spectrum, they're like, man, he's only had citizenship for 25 years. Let's get rid of him. He came here on a student visa and he didn't finish school. Let's get rid of, oh my God.
Yes. Look at Cuba. Everybody used to say anybody who came from Cuba got guaranteed American citizenship as soon as they stepped on American soil, right? Well, Barack Obama ended that because what did they find? They found that the majority of Cuban nationalists who came here and got American citizenship voted Republican. And it's like, we're ending that right away.
Yeah, right,
They
right.
want any group that comes here that's they can see as being politically interested in them. So we need to really get that off, right? Common sense in immigration, but yeah, they're not driven by political gains for the party.
Interestingly, one of the things that I've always said that I thought was, I mean, it's good that Republicans were consistent on the immigration issue, right? They're like, listen, we don't want somebody here coming illegally. But that having been said, had they gone the other way, they probably could have turned it to their advantage because Hispanics on average are just very, very conservative. Many of them are Catholic. Many of them are very traditional, very fiscally conservative. Hardworking. Like this is like your stereotypical Republican in training. And so like thankfully they were consistent. I was happy to see that instead of like they could have flipped it around. They could have been like, you know what, you're right. Let's bring them all in. And by the way, here's our Republican. And I wouldn't want that. I'm glad that they were able to like to kind of step back. And the Democrats, I think, made a mistake in their aggressive immigration policy just because I think it's one of those things where a lot of immigrants are going to come here through the open border situation for a time. And even, obviously that's ended and it's getting sent back. But had it continued, they would have come over. They probably would have been in favor of Democrats for like a year or two, 3 years, 5 years, gotten their family over. And then the moment that happened, it's like, all right, well, we don't have anybody else that we need to get over. So now it's like, let's vote on real policy. And then it's like, all right, now they're conservative again. I think it would have backfired for them anyway. I think the open border.
I mean, the playbook they saw that it at least gave them 30 years of one party rule in California. So, that's what they would like everywhere. Especially they'd love to turn Texas, and they think they can just yell racist, racist, racist. But I'm glad the American people are seeing beyond that, seeing that calling Donald Trump a racist does not discourage people from voting for him because the Democrat governing alternative has been so unacceptable.
Yeah,
really. Like I can't defend everything that Donald Trump says. Common sense, right? Or every policy, but that the shrouded in secrecy, conspiracies and bureaucracy of what was happening. Sorry, that was just a swamp.
And absolutely.
We need that swamp to be drained.
Far more dangerous, right? Yeah, that nebulous engine of the puppet masters. So let's see how.
I want to find it now. There are guest worker programs, right, for our farms. If you want to come work for a farm, all you have to do, you don't have to come in illegally, hop over a fence or evade customs. You just come right to the gate at customs and say, I want to work as guest worker, work for farms.
Oh, I got it. It just so happens that there's a large group of federal employees that are now unemployed who can all work the farms. It works out perfectly. I'm kidding. I'm being facetious, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. Like,
right. Remember this, worker. I'm an American citizen. If I went to England, came back to JFK Airport, went through security, had nothing to declare, and I decided I didn't want to go through customs, I would be tackled. I would be arrested, right?
Just to
I have every right to be here. So why can't we be just as skeptical for anyone else entering our country and not going through customs, right? We should be very skeptical for somebody who doesn't want to go. We have this wall, but that wall has gates. It's really a fence. We're asking, come to a gate, go to an ICE customs official and say, I want to come and work on the farms in the guest worker program. We have a guest worker program, but here's my name. Here where I come from. Here's how long I want to work here.
Simple enough.
Don't expect that you can run past a customs office. I couldn't do it in New York City without being arrested. Why should somebody else be allowed to do that?
Yeah. So Greg Clive, good comment. So I know, yeah, there's two frames of thought, right? Two kind of like paths in the road here. One path is that everybody needs everybody all the time, and we're one big happy global network, and America has to exert soft power through all of these like under the covers policies, and it should be like one giant interconnected web. I am not in that camp. I have to be honest. I'm of the opinion that America, being one of the few nations on earth that can be fully 100% self-sufficient, we don't need anyone. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying that America first is America only, right? There's a difference there. There's a huge difference between America first and America only. I think there's plenty of cooperation that we can get with literally any country. I think allies are a good thing. I think that we are in fact social creatures, humans. So there's nothing wrong with reaching out to our buddies across the ocean, but I think it should be on fair terms, right? I don't think that America should be taken advantage of simply because we had the biggest GDP, right? Like, I don't think that we should be taken advantage of simply because after the war, after World War II, we took all these huge hits on all these trade deals, and we're tariffed like crazy all around the world, and we have we're like on the receiving end of everything. We manage the police force for the galaxy free of charge, essentially. Like we basically do everything for everyone. There's a difference between being America first and America only, but like I said, we shouldn't be doing everything for everybody without getting any kind of like compensation. Yeah.
I want to add to that, like, we want to help out when we can afford it, right? And common sense is, look, we're 36 trillion in debt.
Exactly.
We have deficits that we're on $2 trillion deficits. Give us a chance to put our house in order, balance our budgets, right? Get our debt under control, have a real budget, and then we can see about reaching out and doing stuff. It's not that there aren't worthy causes or there aren't things that are in our self-interest that can also benefit other countries, but we're poor right now because of our debt, right? That it is a debt crisis. Now, it is for other countries that don't pay taxes here, they're not worried about our national debt. And so I understand that. Their self-interest. But what is good, it's just like in your personal life. Yeah, that would be great. I would love to do that. I can't afford to do that right now. I have to wait until I get out of debt, my debt position better, and then maybe I can do that activity, support that, type of thing.
Exactly. It's like I said so many times, like when you're flush in your bank account and your friend comes over and says, "Hey, yo, man, let me get a 20 for gas to get through the week." Everybody's like, "No problem," right? You've got your money, you're safe. He's your friend. You're more than happy to help. But if your friend comes to you and you're in $18,000 over your head in credit card debt, you're barely able to make rent, you're not sure if you're going to have food for your kids, and your buddy's like, "Can I have 20?" Be like, "Listen, I'm going to need to get you next week or the week after." And that's where America's at right now. We've been doing for everyone else for so long that we've almost forgotten how to think of ourselves. And
we just need to pump the brakes a little bit. Look, we're not cutting you off permanently, but we right, just like with USAID, let's do a 90-day freeze and really examine, make sure everything here is vitally important, and then we'll start doing it again.
Right.
That is the ultimate sort of common sense that people should not be emotional about, should understand. And if they can't survive a 90-day freeze, they need to maybe diversify their income streams. Right. If they're 100% reliant on the U.S., providing 100% of their budgeting, that's not sustainable. We can't guarantee that throughout the world.
It's funny. I just realized, I don't know if I was going to say who is who, but I'm not sure that everybody gets the same screen, right? Like I know that I'm the one talking right now, and on my left, from who I see, but I may not be. we're both common man.
I'm Christian.
Yeah, I'm Eddie. That's Christian. So yeah, we're the common man, we're the voice of the common people. Listen, neither of us are elites, right? Neither of us have doctorates degrees or went to exotic prep schools or anything like that. Like Christian's more educated than I am. He's got I think he had what, history degree or
I had a sociology degree, but I studied at a very good school. Eddie's slightly more intelligent, naturally more intelligent than I am, but
thank you. I don't know if that's true,
but yeah.
I'll
So I
take it.
have a little bit, and I just have a little bit more interest in history, or have for a little bit while. But really, when it comes to what's happening right now, we have to see the media wants to spin things so much to make us understand ways that fits their narrative, right?
Yep.
And it's exactly like the Aesop fable of the con artists who had no money. Their father died and left them some weaving equipment. They didn't know how to weave, so what they do, they set up weaving invisible cloth and seeing if anybody would buy it by just saying only the really worthy and virtuous and noble can see this cloth and appreciate it. And everybody, all of a sudden, the people in their own vanity wanted to feed into that. I'm noble and virtuous. I can see the cloth. Until finally, one kid, right, when the emperor is wearing this fine cloth suit, says, "You're naked. You're not wearing anything." And that's where we're at now. We're seeing through the fraud.
Yep.
There's no substance to it, and all we're asking for is just, a little common sense. Give us a little time. We're not saying that everything's going to be perfect. There's going to be some pain. We'll try to get back to that. But especially the federal government. If the federal government is kind of program you don't like, you don't have to put up with that. But get your state, get your local county, city to start that program so that you can have that benefit if you love it so much.
Absolutely. And one thing that it bears mentioning, I guess there is a difference, right, between how one would manage their household finances, of course, and how one would manage macroeconomics. That's going to come into play. And I respect that, right? And it's not like we're not cognizant of this, but there are some moral obligations that go along with fiscal responsibility that really are the same no matter what, right? Like you have a moral obligation to those people to whom you owe that duty, right? Like if you're an American politician, you owe that moral obligation to the American citizenry first. And it's not like that. That's not a macroeconomic concept. That's just a moral concept, right? Those are the people who voted you in. Those are the people who you serve. So those are the people who you have to help. It's not like you're neglecting everyone else, but that's your first duty. And that's just, that's the common sense line.
What we invite you to do is please go through some of our other videos and watch them for a long time too, please.
Yeah.
But we broke down
over and over
and again. Just have them on the background,
It doesn't even work.
But we talked about Keynesian economics, right? So everybody knows about Adam Smith and John Maynard Keynes, and everybody is into Keynes, which is very favorite on the left. It's called pump priming. It's where you deficit spend. In a crisis, in a depression or recession, the government borrows more money and spends more money than they bring in temporarily. If people read Keynes' theory, they say when there's inflation, which we have had, what you have to do is stop spending, right? And you need to cut spending. You need to look at it so that inflation comes down. And so it's all sound economic principles. We're not just doing this to upset you or to own the libs, right? Or to cause as much pain as possible. It's because this is a great way to deal and bring down inflation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's part of the whole process of John Maynard Keynes economics that everybody on the left loves. And has really been a governing principle since 1945.
Yeah, that always surprises me that this is essentially left-wing economics in play, and there's all of a sudden there's a problem with it. Let's see Worker says that Trump's tariffs are going to destabilize the stock market. Those of you who are on the channel know that I'm not a tariff guy, right? But I say this every time. it's a principled objection, right? I'm against tariffs because it's anti-free trade, not because they don't work. I honestly don't know if it's going to work or not. And it's difficult to say, like, as I go through the history and try to figure out, like, from, the historical uses of tariffs, whether or not they're going to work. I don't think any president's ever, like, actually implemented tariffs as like full economic policy. And I don't even think that Trump wants to do that. I think this is kind of like him talking past the sale, like he does with so many other things. But it's hard to say. And I would just say, look, we don't know what's going to happen with these things. And Trump, it seems, dead set on at least using them as a negotiating tool, if not more. Let's sit back. Let's watch this situation in 6 months. The best recommendation I can give people is, for those of you out there who maybe don't like Trump, set a KPI, right? Set a key performance indicator. Tell yourself what you would like the economy to look like, so that you're judging this objectively, as opposed to just listening to MSNBC tell you that Trump still sucks in 10 months or something, whether he's actually achieved it or not. Because if Trump, if you say, all right, this is what I want 5% unemployment or 4% unemployment, I want a CPI of da-da-da-da-da, and all this, and then Trump hits all those things, MSNBC is still going to be upset at him. Right? Like Trump said it perfectly the other day in the speech. He could literally cure cancer and they'd be like, you missed a spot. Like, that's just the way that the left is right now. It reminds me of my ex-wife. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, what I want to see in 6 months is the price of appetizers at restaurants go down. I want to be able to order appetizers more often at restaurants. That's my KPI. I mean, we're being facetious, but really, on a macro level, we understand macroeconomics, but reining in fraud is the first thing you want to do. And so here's the type of thing: are we going to be able to get rid of every dodgy program in the government? Maybe not, but there'll be a lot less of it. Are we going to be able to stop every single legal immigrant coming into the country? No, but there'll be less of it, right? Are we going to be able to stay out of every single armed conflict in the world? No, but maybe there'll be less of it. So, right. I mean, the horrors of the Donald Trump period: slightly less, lower taxes, slightly less spending, slightly less illegal immigration, slightly less war. I don't understand. You really shouldn't be having an emotional response. You're overreacting, right? Give us some time to this. And again, tariffs. Right. Because of the post-war world, tariffs were seen as something we allowed to happen unequally until economies could rebuild. Economies have rebuilt.
Yeah, absolutely.
That they need to either be gone, they need to be fair for us and for you, or right that we have somebody who can credibly says he will get in a tariff war with you, and then maybe we can negotiate because he's willing to take a little pain. What I
was going to say, so worker ant colony. He's saying if you have 5% tariff on imports, the consumer pays that. So this is the important thing to understand about tariffs, is that they're vastly more complex than you might think. Right. And this is the same thing for every trade deal, right? It's not so simple. So while it may seem like, all right, yes, it's 25% more, and then the importer pays that, and then the consumer, they're just going to pass that price on to the consumer, and then everybody's going to pay more. Now, first of all, that's not what's going to happen. For 25%, what's probably almost certainly going to happen is that company's just going to buy it from somebody else, probably domestically, right? They may pay more. They may pay like 5% more. They're not going to pay 25% more, obviously, or they would just pay the tariff. Now, the next thing is they don't have to pass all of that price on. The next thing is that doesn't even have to be the importer that pays it. That's part of the trade deal. As a matter of fact, you can negotiate that the exporter pays it. Individual companies can negotiate that too. There have been many tariffs in the past where both the company shipping and the company receiving have agreed to split costs and then have not passed any cost on to people. The last time Trump was in, the tariffs were there and costs of everything went down because of the energy pricing being so low. So it's really far more complex than just saying this is more, therefore everyone's going to pay 25% more.
Well, the one thing is right, people will consume less when prices go up with tariffs, right? And it makes the foreign product more unappealing. And usually you want to set a tariff. So there are two types of tariffs. A barrier tariff is where, like, hey, we don't want anybody in Canada buying American maple syrup, so we're going to tariff American maple syrup 200%. So that means like they're going to sell 3 bottles of American maple syrup every year, and it's because somebody like for some reason bought the wrong one on accident.
Right.
And but or you can have like a 25% or less tariff. Usually like a 5% or less tariff are also called income tariffs, where it generates money where it raises prices slightly, but it is a way for the government to generate a lot of money. So you're not really protecting the markets, right? So, but what we've seen is, a combination of those are being evaluated but Trump is especially angry about the ones where foreign countries are trying to protect their markets with these 200% tariffs.
Yep.
While we aren't allowed to tariff even 25%. Like, hey, he says if you're 220%, we can do 25% and raise money and get closer to maybe, balancing our budget. These seem sort of reasonable things. Now, consumption will come down. I've eaten a lot less eggs in the last month, and I think we as Americans, I think we can handle that. I think we have enough consumption. Maybe we buy a little bit less furniture from China. We make our couch last a little bit longer. I think those things are important. That on the whole, we can negotiate better deals for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. This is another element that's kind of like, again, it's a short-term loss for a long-term gain strategy. This tariff idea. I don't know if it's going to work. I hope it is. Right. I have my optimism in place for this. I'm against tariff principle, but one thing that it can do, especially if Trump is serious about it being a revenue-generating engine. In the long run, it can lower the cost of government for everybody, which can deflate the economy, the pricing. So in other words, one of the reasons that we had so much inflation was because, well, part of it was supply costs from COVID were getting shunted. But another thing was that government was overspending to compensate, right? We were just like throwing money at the problem and printing like crazy. The opposite can happen too. If the government has too much money and they decrease the amount of money in the supply because they don't need it, then it deflates the prices. It's like an over demand of money. So then it puts us back down to square one. And that's kind of like one of the reasons I hate inflation so much is kind of like a tax that nobody voted for, nobody's happy with, right? Like nobody was expecting it. But the other way can be the case as well. It can be like, deflation. We can all see this nice, easy CPI at the end of the day, and we're like, whew, that didn't feel so bad,
well, The goal has been like Fed manager to have a 0.1 to 0.9 inflation every year. That's right. Their sort of goal. They don't want to deflate currency. They want to really slow. And so what really is the worst thing for the economy is any kind of spike.
Right.
Spikes in inflation. Right? If we have something steady,
so Keynesian economics says anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know that I agree, but yeah.
Okay. What are the mansplainers' qualifications? So
none.
Again, we'll tell you, right? We're not pushing anybody's agenda. Nobody's paying us.
Right.
We're giving you our unfiltered common sense. We're open that our opinions are our own, and this is the common man giving it to you, not the mainstream media. This is a no elite spin zone, no party narratives here. We'll tell you what's good and what's bad. But
right. So qualification wise, if you want like a strict resume, I'm ex-military, right? I'm an intelligent guy. I read a lot of books, like a lot of books. I spend at least 4 hours a day reading various items. I discuss philosophy, theology, politics all day long. Like literally, that's all I do. So yeah, I'm an autodidact, like a Charlie Kirk or somebody with perhaps less intelligence and less. I don't have his eidetic memory.
Elocution.
Yeah. Charlie Kirk is like a whiz kid, right? I'm not gonna take anything from him. But and Christian's are the same. Christian's a historian, a sociologist. He's got a sociology degree. We're both above average intelligence. We both talk about this kind of stuff all the time. We spend a lot of time researching current events and things like that. Those are our qualifications.
But
And at the end of the day,
we both had blue collar jobs, managing, right, and the sort of wisdom from that, helping people deal with things like insurance, debt, managing profit loss, encountering things. So we're not just ivory tower living in a bubble. We do happen to live in a swing state, a very politically purple state. And so I'm originally from California, so I've been exposed to a lot of liberal ideas, liberal government. But now, right? So in general, though, I think our philosophy is if there's a time and a place for liberal policy, it's not at the national level. Right?
Yes.
We should be very skeptical of that and should be reserved of that. We tend to want the government to not guarantee success and provide for everyone, but provide a framework where prosperity can take place.
Yep. Well, hey, listen, guys, I want to tell you, I appreciate your viewership so much. I'm truly happy that you guys found us. And we do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we'd love to have you back next week. Please put comments in the channel. Please watch all of our stuff and share it with like at least 500 friends. If everybody does that, we'll all be set. We're not even monetized, so we're not even getting anything from YouTube yet. So you don't have to worry about our allegiance being in a nefarious place. We're as common as it comes. So, but anyway, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time on Common Mansplaining.